Welcome to Lesson 1-4, Equations and Inequalities. Well, I ran into Mr. G's the other day to buy ingredients to make a pizza. The cheese was $5.99, the dough was $2.39, tomato sauce was $2.49, and pepperoni cost $2.98. If I pay with a $20 bill, about how much change should I receive? Questions like this are things you're going to run into every day. Whether you're making a pizza at home and you run to Mr. G's to get your ingredients, or maybe you're running to the Dollar General store to pick up some shampoo and toothpaste. Or maybe even you're filling up at the mini mart and you need to buy a pop, and so you have to add together your pop and your gas and figure out how much change you're going to get. This is a skill you're going to need to develop in life. You want to make sure that the change you're getting, you don't need to know to the penny in your head, but you should have an approximation about how much you should be getting back. So that way if the cashier accidentally gave you too much, you can be an honest person and return it so that poor cashier doesn't have to deal with having a short drawer that night. Or you want to make sure that you didn't get shortchanged. So say you were owed $15 and you only got $5 back. You want to make sure that things are done correctly. Okay? Well, let's talk about some of the vocabulary words for this lesson today that are going to help us develop these skills. The first vocabulary word we have, and of course these need to go in your notes, is an equation. An equation is a statement formed by placing an equal sign between two expressions. We talked before about variable expressions, such as 2 plus x. And we talked about numerical expressions, which were maybe like 5 times 3. Well, if I put an equal sign in between those two, that's an equation. Okay, so you have an expression on each side. You can even have just a number on one side. So you could have 3z equals 21. That is an equation. If there's two things on both sides of the equal sign, that's an equation. Okay? Next vocabulary word. And feel free to pause if you need more time to write these in your notes, because I know all my students are going to have very well written notes that they can not only read, but they can understand them, okay? And if I'm not giving you enough of an explanation of these words here, make sure you stop by and see me, talk to a classmate, make sure you get these down, okay? Because I'm going to run under the assumption that you know these after this lesson, okay? A solution is a number that, when it's substituted for the variable, and this can be an equation, it can be an inequality, it's going to make a true statement. So if I have something like 2 plus x equals 4, and I say my solution is x equals 2, yes, that is a solution, because isn't 2 plus 2 4? But if I have something on the other hand that's 3 times, oh, that was elementary school time sign, wasn't there? 3 times n equals 21, and n equals 3. Well, if we were to substitute 3 in for n, we would have 3 times 3 equals 21. Is that true? No. So 3 is not a solution. This is not a solution. A solution is only when it works. Okay? So this one, you would say, yes, this is a solution. It has to work. It has to make sense. If it doesn't make sense, it's not a solution. It's not a true statement. And our last vocabulary word here, and I got a chart I'm going to give you to go into more detail for this, is inequality. If you remember from your last class that you took, an inequality is a statement formed by placing an inequality symbol between two expressions. So where an equation has an equal sign, an inequality has an inequality symbol. Okay, now this is when everybody says, what is an inequality symbol? Okay, well, I'm going to flip to the chart in the next page. So if you don't have these down yet, feel free to pause. And this chart, I want you to make sure you get this in your notes as well. Okay? I have some symbols, I have their meaning, and I have an example. Okay, there's 4 different types of inequality symbols. Here we go. Number 1, and these are in no particular order, okay? This is less than. So when I see this, I'm going to say is less than. I know some people if you think back to elementary school, when you first learned this, you make these into little alligators, and then you'd say, let's give this guy an eyeball, and then you'd say, well, what number is the alligator going to eat? Well, I'm not going to say that anymore, okay? We're not going to use those words. We're not going to say the alligator is going to eat the 5 over here. We are going to say 1 plus 3 is less than 5. All right, so if you have problems with the meanings of these and what they're named, I recommend you spend some time. Okay, is less than means the less comes first. Because 1 plus 3, what is that? That's 4, isn't it? So this means 4 is less than 5. And that's why that's less than, because the lesser number comes first. Okay, now I'm going to say that less than's cousin down here is less than or equal to. Okay, and all it is a less than symbol with half the equal sign. They kind of merge together to make is less than or equal to. And what that means is that not only can it be smaller, it can be equal to it as well. So here we have 6 minus 1 is less than or equal to 5. Well, yeah, 6 minus 1 is what? Yeah, it's 5. So we can have 5 is less than or equal to 5. And that works. That's a true statement. That's a solution. Well, we don't have any variables, but that's a true statement there. Okay, so that's is less than or equal to. If you did not have this line here, if you didn't have this line and all you have is this symbol here, it cannot be equal to it. It has to be smaller. Okay, that's the only difference there, is that in this top example, it has to be smaller than 5. So it can be 4.99 and anything smaller than that. But the next example, it can be 5. Okay, and that's the only difference between those two. Okay, I got 2 more, and I bet you can guess what they are. There's our friend greater than. Okay, greater than means the bigger number, the bigger value is going to come first. So look at our example here. We have 10 is greater than 2 times 4. Yeah, isn't 10 bigger than 8? I'd rather have $10 than $8. Okay, so that is greater than. And then the last one, I bet you can guess this one too, is greater than or equal to. And that's the same concepts as we talked about with these two here, is that it's greater, or it can be 10 too. So here we have 10 is greater than or equal to 8. And that works because it's less than 10. But you also could have 10 here, and that works too. But not in the particular when you use is greater than, because that is not equal to. So that's the only difference, is that this one can be equal and this one cannot. Okay, so these 4, I recommend that you take some time learning them and putting them into your brains. Not only in your notes, but put these in your brains, okay? And don't file them far away. Keep them out, because we're going to use these. And I'm going to say less than. I'm going to say greater than. We're not going to use alligator eat 'em up anymore, okay? Well, maybe once in a while just for fun. But we're going to try not to. We're going to try to steer away from those eating alligators. Alright. Make sure this is in your notes. And once again, if you have any questions, make sure you come see me. Let's move on. Now that we've talked about less than, greater than, and all those vocabulary words, let's talk about my pizza. Okay? So, I went to Mr. G's and we talked about all the ingredients I bought there. So let's see. If I'm in the store, I'm not going to sit there and add together, oh, $5.99 plus $2.39, let's see, 9 and 9, that's 18, carry the 1. No, because you know what, you also have taxes in here, and to figure out an exact price would take a little more time than necessary. You can just estimate. So you can say the cheese, $5.99. Well, I'm going to call that $6. Okay? And I'm going to add to that the dough. It said it was $2.39. Well, I'm going to round that down to $2. Or you can round it up to 3 too. It doesn't matter. If you want to make sure if you're making sure you have enough money, you probably want to round it up to 3. But since I'm just kind of estimating my change, I know I have enough money, I'm going to go ahead and round it down to $2. But this, there's no right or wrong here. It's kind of a gray area where you can pick and choose, okay? So, tomato sauce was $2.49, so I rounded that up to $3. Pepperoni was $2.98, so I rounded that up to $3. And then I'm going to add something to that. You know what I'm going to add is my change. All that stuff added together is going to equal my $20. So if I add up all the ingredients I bought plus my change, I should total my $20 that I get. I get $20 worth because I get change plus I have all these groceries. Okay, so just because you give them $20 doesn't mean you're out the money. Now you have it in a different form, I guess. So let's add these together. And once again, remember you're adding left to right. So 6 plus 2 is 8. Okay, 8 plus 3 is 11. And 11 plus 3 is 14. Okay, so 6 and 2 is 8. And then I added the 3 there to get 11. And I added this 3 there to get 14. So I'm going to rewrite this here. I'm going to say I have 14 plus x equals 20. And this is what you do in the grocery store. You'd add it all together. Okay, that's about $14. What plus $14 makes 20? Yeah, $6. So my change should be about $6. So I know if I only get back $1.75, there's a problem. Maybe they accidentally added something up twice or miscounted the money. But if I get $26 back, well, certainly we know there was an error there too. So we want to make sure that this is a skill that we're going to work on developing. Is taking the things we're learning in the classroom and putting them out there to what we're going to use in the real world, right? Okay, well, how about we take a little break and then we'll come back and we'll work through some example sets. So go ahead and stop the video, stretch out, and then come back, okay?